Alright guys, here in about a week I'm going to go to the dunes with my brother and go camping. And if I'm squinting, it's because the sun's directly behind the camera in my eyes. But I have a 2006 YFZ450 and I don't think I've started it in possibly 2 years. Just didn't go to the dunes last year. I think it was the year before that we went. So it needs everything. I've kind of come to the conclusion that there are some things that are basically going to get replaced every year. So oil change every year, probably a chain every year. After doing a bunch of reading online, I'm going to do non-O-ring chains because I'm fat and it already doesn't have enough power for me. And I read a comment somewhere that someone thought it robbed like 2 horsepower. Well, on 45 horsepower or whatever these make, 2 horsepower is a lot. So I'm going to get a pre-stretched non-O-ring chain and put some wax spray on it. I'm going to get new sprockets. I'm also want a little higher top speed, so I'm going to go with a 14 tooth up front. I'm bringing them all with me though in case it bogs real bad and go back down. But I'm sure the carburetor needs cleaned. It wasn't running super good last time it ran. I gotta do a bunch of stuff. I gotta stitch the footwell netting up. Turns out they're really expensive, so I'm just gonna try to repair these. I'm just dripping with sweat in this heat. Anyways, we're gonna do the carburetor this morning, get it down off of there and work on it in the shop. This is not really a how-to, it's probably more like a how-I, because it seems like whenever I do how-tos where I'm really not sure what I'm doing, which is very much the case here, obviously I get flamed. So this is a how I did it, not a how-to, and I figured it would be just interesting to see the carb get cleaned. And there's tons of videos out there on it, but I'll do it and we'll get started. Alright guys, we're going to go over these one at a time. So this is obviously my ATV parts bin. This is a breakdown of the carburetor that I printed and put in a bag. I've got the screwdriver that fits the jets, some fuel hose, carb kits, more than one, stock needle. That goes to the 350 Raptor. Cleaners, extra spark plug, fuel hose. I'm not sure what's in here. Hardware and some jets, it looks like. So that's the ATV kit. And then you won't have this on your carburetor, but I have it on mine. This is a 3mm for the boot hardware, 4mm for the boot hardware, 3mm for the float bowl, 5mm for the airbox hose clamp. This was used to soften up a hard hose, the overflow hose. Permatex for stainless hardware and aluminum. Number 6, I used a open end wrench on this to get the jet out. Number 10 for the hardware for the airbox. This here was used to clean the float bowl. Dental picks was used to clean the float bowl O-ring groove because it had some junk in it. And what were these used for? This was separate stuff here. I don't remember what that was used for. Impact gun. Be careful with that. Oh, and I had to take off and drain my fuel, so I used these 2 tools. Harbor Freight sells these. They're just pliers for hose. And then last but not least, bin, parts bin. You can wash your stuff in it and don't lose stuff. So, sweating like crazy, but that's what you need. It's about 95 in here. That's what you need to clean your carb out on the bike. Same stuff if you're going to do it on the bench, but I just didn't feel like taking the throttle off of it, so. Alright, got the ATV on the lift. I got to take the air box off, which is going to involve also cleaning my outerwear cover. I think that thing's ripped. I may have to replace that. Let's see. Thought these were 10 millimeter. Yep, 10 millimeter on the box. And what do we got for? We got an Allen for the. Now some of this may not be stock. I think I put the Allen on there, which it looks like it's promptly rusted. Nope, comes right out as one piece. Obviously it's gonna need to be cleaned. Okay, so I thought I'd get a close up here. I have I believe I turned this one way back so I could get to both of them. That's a 3 and that's a 4 millimeter. If I remember right, you can service the jets, I think, through that plug there. So I'm going to attempt to do that. Mine, this carburetor doesn't want to come off the boot. The boot actually wants to pull off of the head. So I spun this around. I think I cut some plastic or rubber piece off of this boot because I think that was somewhere else where I couldn't get to it. And so I spun this around. I'm not advising anyone to do that, but I can get to it and I'm going to loosen it up, and then where I'm grabbing it right here to wiggle it, and then I'm sticking my fingers through this area up here and I'm grabbing it right there on that nub, and I'm rocking it back and forth to get the carburetor off. So that's what I'm doing. Okay, I'm going to attempt to show you guys me getting this off. So I'm just rocking it back and forth. Get a little silicone on there next time. So now that the carburetor's off, I should just be able, let's make sure that my fuel's off. And I should, without doing hopefully any damage, be able to rotate this thing. And I already pulled off the drain port there, and it's kind of hanging up on these tubes here, or there's actually another tube that needs to be pulled out like that. And then will this rotate sideways? Yep, sideways enough to get to the carburetor. So it can rotate around enough to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to see if I can service it from here. I can't remember what this is called, but I've got one of these adjustable pieces here. Like I said, I'm not a carb guy, so it's all kind of foreign to me. Okay, we're taking Allen heads loose. I'm probably going to go replace these with some stainless. You got to be careful with stainless because it can gall, but I hate that these are rusting. That one's loose. Get this one off. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't let the fuel out. That's gonna suck. So I didn't drain the fuel. It's gonna go everywhere. Yikes, that is some stinky fuel. I think there's an O-ring on the end of that. Super, super dirty carb. Alright guys, so you have to be really careful because the float pin is a very loose fit and it will fall out a lot of times. So when the carburetor is sitting sideways, if you wiggle this a little bit, see how the pin starts to work its way out. So be really careful there. So I got to take the main and the idler out. I may have to take all three out and check them. And then I've got to spray some shit up in there and clean that out. So this is a 6mm. I already loosened it up. That looks fine. Alright guys, so what I did, I took one of these Quinn Diamond, it's the middle one, diamond screwdrivers from Harbor Freight, and I ground it down so that the shaft is thin so that it will fit in here and it won't hit the sides. In fact, it looks like I may have to grind it off a little more, but basically the diamond tip keeps you from camming out the jets. And then this right here is a 6mm and it was clean. My idle jet was dirty and clogged, and so I'll get a 6 and tighten that back up. Also, if you take this off, even if you have the stock one, this has a spring, a washer, and an O-ring down inside, and the washer's tiny. It sits on the end of the spring, and I just about lost it. I have something sitting underneath the four-wheeler that caught it. When you take this bowl off, make sure you put this back and make sure you look for that washer. It's a tiny, 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 like a 3mm washer on the end of the spring. Don't lose that. Put this back in the hole so you don't lose it. Also, check and see if the O-ring falls out. You're going to want to see if that sticks to it. So anyways, the O-ring hopefully will stay up in yours. The washer can fall out really easily. I thought the washer went to the float, but it doesn't. It goes to this. So anyways, we're going to get to tightening this. Okay, this is how I ended up sharpening this, and I'm just going to rotate it slowly for you guys. This is going to live inside my kit for this four-wheeler. It fits snugly inside of here, and you can see how little wiggle it has. So it fits the jets very tight. So what happened yesterday is, it's already hot out here. We were gonna get thunder and lightning, and so I had to knock off, and I actually put the float bowl back on, as you can see there. And when I went to put this screw on right there, not only did the washer fall on the ground, but the spring fell on the ground. And so luckily, I was able to find them both. I ended up having to use a magnet for the spring, which is magnetic, if you're wondering. I can't remember if I think the washer is stainless. I can't remember if it's magnetic or not, but I managed to find that as well. So I got this janky tray here, and what I really would suggest is underneath your four-wheeler, I personally would put a humongous, I don't know if I'd buy a cookie sheet or what the heck I do, but whatever it took to have parts fall in an area where you can find them. Now, if you're working on a concrete floor, then it's not such a big deal unless it falls down on the four-wheeler somewhere, which, by the way, parts can fall into that tube right there. So I'm gonna go get something to cover that hole because I don't want parts to fall down in there. And you'll notice, since I'm doing this on four-wheeler, the idle, or whatever this is, I think it's the idle mixture, happens to line up with that exactly. So yeah, I don't want stuff to fall out. I've already had a bunch of stuff happen. I also had the pin fall out for the float. So we're gonna get this thing back together. I'm gonna clean the float bowl. Oh, I went and got stainless hardware. So if you want to replace your lame ass Phillips screws with something nicer, we have a place here in town that's basically an Ace. It's called Daisy's, and I went there and I got their 4mm by 0.7 pitch by, I think, 16 millimeters long, so that makes them about 3/4, 5/8. Make sure they're long enough but not too long. And I went and got 4 stainless Allen bolts, and they just so happen to have smooth heads, which is cool. So this is what the hardware looked like from the store. It's now stainless steel. I don't gotta worry about it rusting at the beach. It's great. So anyways, we'll get the float bowl off here and get this thing reassembled, get some fuel in it and see if it'll fire up. Okay. This is a 3mm Allen for if you do swap out for Allen bolts. Oh, this is where you gotta be damn careful. Okay, I got the washer and the spring. Make sure the O-ring is still in there. Ooh, that's gonna sting. Okay, now we're gonna get the float bowl back in. I want this back in here like so. Okay. And then you want this, the pin in here. Float bowl gasket's hard as a rock, so I'm gonna have to replace that. So we'll get a pick and get that out of here. All right, 2 things I would get with this job is one of these brushes that will scrub end on. And the other thing I would get is dental picks. These are cheap on Amazon and they're strong for getting at gaskets and things like that. So we'll get that gasket out of there and move on. Make sure when you're doing the carburetor that you're looking down this seam. When you're putting the float bowl on, you got to be really careful that you don't bump the gasket and that it doesn't pop out of the slot. So I've got it just snugged up, and even before then I double and triple checked to make sure the gasket hadn't moved. And then last but not least, you got the needle, you got the spring, you got the washer, And if your O-ring's not hard as a rock, it should be up inside of there and should have some resistance when you put it in. So I'm gonna stick that back in there and get this thing back on and see if it'll run. Okay, I'm gonna try to attempt to show this, but basically this is hard. So I'm gonna heat it up a little bit. And then I'm gonna attempt to shove it on here. Oh, there we go. I just don't think that's even the right size, but what a piece of crap. All right, well, as stupid as that little darn thing is, it's on there. You know, it's just meant for this overflow, but I was trying to get it on there right. And all right, install is obviously the reverse of removal. That goes without saying. Now, I can't remember if I replaced these with Allens or not, but mine's a 3 and a 4 millimeter. And I don't know exactly where that's gonna go, so we'll just snug it up for right now. So I put a little WD-40 on this. I took each bolt out one at a time on the float bowl and put anti-seize because you have stainless and aluminum. There's something, it's called galling, but there's another term for it. Stainless and aluminum don't play well. They can cause electrolysis between the threads, and it's been my experience that stainless galls and aluminum really easy, so I put anti-seize on all four. After I had the float bowl tight, or snug, I took the bolts back out one at a time and anti-seize them, so I don't have any sort of galling electrolysis action. Yeah, so we're just getting everything back together here. And then this can come off. And this breather can go back on. And what do we got? Do we got anything else? I gotta get the air box in. All right, we're putting the air box in. So, gotta get it around the shock. And it should just slip right in. What else is it hitting on over here? Alrighty. And then it should slip right on the carburetor. Okay. And then I have an Allen on that, which I should have used stainless on. I have to replace that down the road. Oh, that's a 5 millimeter. Okay, that's tight. And then 10 millimeters are next. Okay, that's in. And then airbox bolts, which I'm going to put a little anti-seize on. And I've got my impact gun turned down to 1, which is still too high, but it sucks. All right, airbox is on. All right, so starts right up. now and see how it actually runs. All right. It's got grass all over it. I'm a mess because they're flood irrigating the field, so I got irrigation water all over me, but it's fast. Chase the goats all over the place and the sheep. And now I'm gonna spray all the garbage off of this thing and wrap this video up. So I think I got it 2 turns out, the mixture screw, and there's not much else to say. It runs good, it's fast, faster than I remember. So anyways, I'm just gonna wrap it up for this one. Hope this helps somebody. Talk to you guys later.